Good evening and a very warm welcome to everyone. I think we are delighted to have you here, and thank you for taking your time out to attend this interesting and insightful session on how you can leverage effective strategic communication for leadership success. So I have the privilege of introducing the distinguished faculties as well as the alumni who are guest speakers for this program. So we have Dr. Pragyan Rath. So Professor Rath is the Professor of Business Ethics and Communication Group in IIM Calcutta. She holds a PhD in English, and she's known for her multidisciplinary research with areas of interest in verbal, visual communication, and has researched extensively on visual culture and communication too. If you sit in her class, you will actually realize, from where all she will draw, all the examples. So teaching philosophy and pedagogy also inculcates learning of concepts and leverages them to, inquire about them and apply them. And she has written extensively on communication analytics and pursues to contribute further to the multidisciplinary field of corporate communications. Over to Professor Nandita Roy. So Professor Nandita Roy is a professor of business ethics and communication area at IMC. She has a PhD in English literature with diverse research background ranging from philosophy, technology. She's an avid gamer, gender studies, storytelling, and new media. I mean, you can make out from a studio where she is actually. Dr. Roy's teaching style is to spark inquisitiveness and enthusiasm using elements of gamification to bridge the gap between theory and practice. Prior to this, she has also been part of IIM Lucknow teaching there, and now she was also working with National Geographic Channel in the content and programming department. I can assure you, you're going to be in the best of hands, as far as this program is concerned. We also have two alums who have done this program. One who's a senior leader, and the other who's somebody senior leader in corporate communications, and one is a senior leader in business. Looking after business. So we have Mr. Satish Oja, who is the head of capability building Southeast Asia for Merck Pharmaceuticals. He is a senior business leader with almost 24 years of experience in operations, sales, people management, who has seen it, done it all, actually. And you'll hear words of wisdom from him. And we have Bhavna Singh. She's the vice president of corporate communications at Bharat Serum Serum and Vaccines. And she's a senior communication professional with, again, more than 2 decades of experience driving reputation management, public affairs, patent engagement, etc. She has a rich experience in curating communication content, branding, advocacy in her stints earlier with MSD, and she was also the communications head for OPPI, Organization of Pharmaceutical Producers of India. She's a TEDx speaker and has been awarded various awards, prominent among them being 100 influential game changers in PR and communications and 40 under 40 by Reputation Today. So I think you are in additional good hands, right? Now let's come to the program. Effective leadership communication is critical for any business to thrive in the modern world. Yeah, it is simply not enough to have a good idea or a good vision, but the fact that you need to articulate it in a way that engages stakeholders, inspire them, motivate them to get things done, right? One of the key aspects of a good communicator is getting things done. As a senior leader, you need to get things done, right? And you need to have skills to be able to do that. And it is also seen as a distinguishing factor, that sets corporate leaders, who can communicate effectively and who have a great executive presence, which is apart from the rest. When leaders communicate and it is properly channelized along with communication strategy, this brings forth collaboration, clarity of purpose, and it actually helps you operationalize your mission, vision, goals, values, forming a strong foundation for decision-making, critical thinking, and sometimes even transforming complexity into creative solutions, right? So I think I've said enough, but before we start, I request all of you all to remain on mute during the session. If you have questions, please submit them. They'll be answered in the chat box. You can raise your hand. And during the Q&A session at the end of the seminar, after the faculty's address and the alum's address, you can interact with the faculties on a Q&A. Over to you, Professor Pragya. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Darius and VC now. And also I want to thank my colleague here, Dr. Nandita Roy, who's currently the co-program director of this program as well. and really very nostalgic and proud to see alums for this particular um, course, both Satish and Bhavna. Thank you so much for making time, and for everybody who's joined today. Um, as one knows, Calcutta has a very long tradition of long duration programs. They're called LDPs. Of course, we have short duration programs as well. And we have, these executive programs for all kinds of management requirements, from finance to analytics and so on and so on. What makes this particular long duration program interesting is that everybody would say that about their own programs, but what we do mean when we say this, that this is a slightly differently positioned program for management corporates, and also beyond management and corporates, in terms of the language of leadership. When you study the language for it, which is communication. What I mean by that is we're not doing what the British Council does, which is communicative English. It's not simply what is the word or phrase that is used a lot today, for which I'm sure Dr. Roy is going to smile at that. That is, the in-think storytelling, right? These are the buzzwords being used, but it's not the buzzwords. It's rather in terms of the impact these kinds of activities bring to your organization, to your personal branding, right? To your entity, to your product, to your service, to your career, or in whichever way you're looking at it, in terms of where it stands vis-a-vis with the market. So what drives this particular kind of course is, of course, the market sense for it, for which communication has to be designed, has to be thought through, has to be strategized, right? And there is apparently a language for this kind of strategic use value of communication, right, in career profiles. So if you've I don't know if the course outline is pretty much there in the website of the institute. However, right, what you would necessarily see in the course outline, which was kind of missing when Bhavna and Satish were there, right? So there has been a movement further because of, I would say, more researchers who are working with the futures of tech and the futures of work, like Dr. Nandita Roy over here. What this course is now positioned as is in terms of being very future ready. If you look at major consultants and in terms of the consulting reports, one of the words that you often hear, and I know not words, phrase, it's called futures of work. So in the next 5 years, next 10 years, what is happening to the market? What is going to happen to the employee force? Who are you going to deal with? Who are you going to talk to? What are you going to talk about? Not just that, technology is huge. Suddenly in the class today and elsewhere, everybody's talking about what is it? Chat GPT. It's just being talked too much that that's the first thing that's entering into the head. And now you have competitive varieties for it coming up. So when tech comes in, right, again, what will happen is there'll be a culture for tech, there'll be consumption on tech, your working styles will change, the demands from the market will change, the consumer demands will change, right? Products and services and the way the story is narrated about it will change, right? So again, what's happening with that? Not just that, the again over abused word, but still the word which is in vogue, that is data and analytics. Essentially, data and analytics now is being repositioned as data storytelling and data presentations. So it's no more simply presentations, right? It's what you do with data and how do you communicate to the rest of the world using data, and you're supposed to narrate. So it's about narratives around money. It's about narratives around data. It's about narratives around market research. Not just that, this whole thing about games and gamifying, right? And and transmedial. And also the fact that PowerPoint is not the only thing that you're going to use for presentations. You may not need it after some time, and something else comes in. What does one do? For instance, there are new media like Discord. I've never used Discord. Professor Roy probably lives and breathes on it. I don't know. So, what do you do when you're going to have business growth with consumer market who are more into that? So, what this particular 6 months duration program intends to do is give you a spectrum of the traditional and the movement from the traditional to the future tech space, new media space from the old media, right? And understand how the language of leadership has changed, what it is now, what it has come from, and where is it going. And that is the attempt in these 6 months. I think I would request Dr. Roy to take it forward.
Hello, good evening, everyone. And not much to say after that very interesting and effective summary by Mr. Dheeresh Mehta, and Professor Rath, of course, has given an overview of the program. I would just like to perhaps build a little bit upon the new media, futures of work, futures of tech kind of focus that we have in this program since last year. And as you can see, you will see around you while at work, things are changing, and they will continue to change very drastically, because technology is moving at a very fast pace. Professor Rath mentioned ChatGPT. So now there are a lot of people, especially in most fields, actually, from tech, coding to communications, are our jobs at risk? Can ChatGPT tell you more about communication than perhaps me or Professor Rath? Try it, maybe. Maybe it's something better. Maybe you don't need to do this program at all. Just log in, get a pro account at ChatGPT. It will soon be monetized. But this argument has been around for ages. Any kind of disruptive technology. In fact, writing was a disruptive technology. Books were disruptive technology. Plato, the philosopher, was against writing. He said that there's in his writings, he says that it will make us stupid because we'll not remember things anymore. We'll keep referring to books. Now we keep referring to Google. So how do you negotiate through these disruptions? That's what it is. Did writing end philosophy? Did books as a technology absolutely disrupt human creativity? No, it fostered it. So how is it that something like a ChatGPT or a Discord server can foster your leadership communication and help you work better, help you relate to people better, help you thrive at your workplace? Professor Rath used a very interesting phrase, the language of leadership. What is the language of leadership? So in this program, the way we have set up and constructed or structured the modules is that initially we are going to look at strategic communication. So that's a entirely new, innovative way of looking at communications. Again, I am underlining and highlighting the point that Professor Rath said, this is not a communication skill course. Your English might get better, I don't know, but it is not a thing that we are not here to teach you grammar or anything of that sort. Okay, so what you will learn instead are strategies, because again, today, if you are to write a formal email, ChatGPT is actually going to give you a proofread version of the text. It is going to give you email in correct English. So communication skills is something that is going to be automated in a few years. It's new now, but in the next couple of years, it will be more automated. You don't need to worry about a grammatical error while writing an email. But what you need to worry about is when you, even if you're writing correct English, even if the email is grammatically correct and uses fancy words or good words, is it persuasive enough? Is it effective enough? Are you leveraging the correct strategies? Are you using the right medium to communicate? Those are the things, that is the point of focus for this program, as I understand it. So from strategic communications to communication analytics, I'm beginning to grow quite tired of the word storytelling because of its constant use. Storytelling is not just, telling stories. I was, I will stop myself here before I speak too much, but even with storytelling, even with transmedial narratives, we try to approach it from the theoretical perspective of what distinguishes a discourse, a narrative from a story. And sometimes organizations, corporates, etc., you need to concentrate more on the narrative than the story itself. How will you structure a story? How are you going to work around the story? How is that going to help you? Data storytelling. We have all these in the modules, but once you're in the class, perhaps you realize that it's approached from a different perspective. New media technologies, we're going to look at emerging mediums, ranging from Twitch to Discord to Reddit, etc., and see how narratives of work are being constructed. Last year, a very important narrative of anti-work was constructed in Reddit. So these are the things that are going to equip you with a certain kind of knowledge, hopefully, about the world, and give you a certain kind of capital to help you in your workspaces in the next few years. And that's it from me, I guess.
Okay, then thank you, Professor Pragyan and Professor Nandita. So Satish, I think over to you. If you could share your experiences, you could unmute your audio video and share your experiences as an alum. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Darius, for inviting, first of all. And secondly, Professor, is almost like taking a class again. I was just thinking why it's happening in the evening rather than happening in the noon. No problem. It's good to hear. See, my experience with this program, before coming to this program particularly, I have had so many questions. What makes a person a leader a leader? How does he drive his people? What is the core content? Because everybody use grammatical, as Professor Nandita has just mentioned, that it's not about teaching you a language skill. It's about a leadership language. And what did I learn? Couple of things, which it's very difficult. The more you will think about this program over a period of time, the more you will think, okay, you learn this also, you learn this also, you learn this also. You learn when you are so effective as a lone person. How do you take people along with you? How do you build your credibility? That's the first thing which I applied in mine, because I moved from businesses to L&D function, because that has been my desire for a long. And then the job was to establish myself as a good HR talent requisition process. And I did, because I always remember that Priyanka Chopra's speech, which she gave at the time of Filmfare Award for fashion movie, if I am not wrong. That will give you very, very good idea. The way theories, I just see this course which will help you a long way in your all career, and which will make you more and better professional, is finding a window of opportunity. And I always go whenever I'm in trouble. I go and create a 2x2 window and create myself a window of opportunity. Now, can you hear me, please? Can you? Hello?
What you could do is you could actually mute your video and talk so that, the audio would come properly. But now it's fine. It was fine. It's fine now. Yeah.
Okay. So second thing which I always remember and use, which is very, very useful, is creating of a window of opportunity for yourself. In our changing world, how do you create a window of opportunity for yourself? The third thing which I learned is Nick Taylor's story, that how this person who was selling cigarettes and survived. Excellent communication skills you will learn from that thing. And that will be with you irrespective of the type of difficulties you are in. You can just walk, just walk out of that room with your dignity intact. And that is what you will learn also. To me, this program has given me life skills. Life skills means I have always been a very, 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 very successful person in businesses. But to make it to the top, it's not about you saying that I'm doing good. It's other people should say that you are doing good. And then bandwagoning effect will take place. And that's how you climb the corporate after a certain level. After the certain level or a country level, then you want to move beyond out of country. It's not a competence. It's the people. And as it's been rightly said, that kind of stories you tell, the kind of way you tell your stories will make people come together, and those people will pull you. This will help you greatly, I'm telling you guys, in taking your career to the next level. You will learn a lot of finer details about communication. One more thing which I have learned, and I have started reading after Professor Pragyan's interaction with, it's about behavioral economics. Why the thing happens the way things happens? Why do we choose something? Can you influence a room? One thing which I have applied in my, and thoda ajeeb sa hai, crooked hai. She says, when you are not able to convince, and I have done this in my, please change the criteria and use it. You change the criteria of success and be the successful leader. You can't do everything, but you can do something which will be a new criteria for yourself. I think this program has given me a lot, and I owe a lot thanks to Professor Pragyan Rath. Lastly, I would say you will love the way you are being taught. I know there are sometimes when she will push you to the wall. She will challenge you very hard. But the way, I think she is, there are only a couple of teachers whom I like and kind of love. Professor Bhargav from IIT Bombay, and Professor Pragyan Rath and Professor Chetal Banerjee from IIM Kozhikode. You will simply 3 hours will just pass just like this. And you will keep learning. And learning will not happen this during the program. It will actually happen when you will start applying it. And then you will see the miracles happening to your career and the miracles happening to your thought process. Good luck to you guys. I believe that you guys have taken a very, very right decision at this point of your career. And it answers all the questions which we have as a professional, why the way things are not working for me, in spite of such a credible track record of performances. So thank you, Professor, and thanks everyone. Once again, thanks, Dries, for inviting me.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Satish. Be there. We'll have you back for question and answers. So we'll move on to Bhavna. Bhavna, if you can, come on, please.
So good evening, everybody, and thank you, Darius, for reaching out. It's wonderful, Professor, to see you, and like how Satish said, it was a sense of deja vu when we heard you speak, and thank you for teaching us what we still remember. It's actually a practical session for me right now, and I feel that I'm being marked and judged right now, because there is already lots spoken about the course, and about experiences and what Satish has articulated also. Incidentally, Satish and I were batchmates as well. So it always is very tough to be the last person to speak. However, I have been a communicator throughout my life, so I speak for a living. And I believe the course has just taught me to understand and structure my conversations. And when I mean conversations, like how Professor Roy said, it's not the English or the way you speak, but it's more your content. It's more the data storytelling that we learn during this course. um, because I think everybody knows that facts tell, but it's the stories that sell. So it's the narrative that hooks people onto what you're saying. The language of leadership is something that's very, very critical, especially in the context of the new emerging media. How do you use that effectively? These are all things that you learn, and what makes this entire course effective is that it draws from culture, it draws from art, it draws from films, it draws from everything around you. It also draws a lot from research, how, for example, you acquire credibility, how you associate it to particular market cultures that are there, how brands use them effectively in communication. And I still remember Professor Rath's first assignment to all of us, which was actually very delightful to do. And that's one thing I think all of you should look forward to. It's very tough when we are working. And we have our weekends, and it's a 3-hour session, and you have a lot of other things to do, but it is these assignments that really ensure that you've understood the concepts very well. The fact that Professor Rath especially goes through each assignment with a head, with a fine tooth comb, and she reads, she comments on them. It takes a lot of effort, Professor, and the mails that you sent, we treasure them because you really go through them. They are things that are very critical for learning, and like how everybody said, the way of learning, the way of teaching, is something that grows on you. And at the end of 6 months, it's not that we all become experts in strategic communication, but certainly after the 6 months, like how Satish said, is when the impact really kicks in. When you start thinking differently, you start thinking holistically, you start connecting those dots. And I think that's what's really made the program successful. It's really great to see a few of our batchmates doing exceptionally well in their spheres of communication and leadership. And that's one thing that this course ends up doing. There is this cohesiveness, and people start connecting even beyond the class, the different other fields of work, and then there is a lot of exchange of ideas. And of course, you tend to start reading more the fine print. You start observing what Professor Rath has taught us, which are the mega trends. You start connecting those to what's happening with your brand. And therefore, what is it that you need to communicate? I think the way the course finishes with the group presentations, etc., really ensures that you not only learn the concept theoretically, but you also internalize what you learn. And I think these are a few of my takeaways from the course. Other than that, I think we were the first batch, and it was the COVID batch. And we have really used a lot of our time effectively with a lot of reading material, etc., that the institute sends us. I did see some comments come about strategic communication and how it's kind of misleading, etc., etc. I think that strategic communication is also a word that is highly misused, abused to a certain extent. And I think it is in this course that you really start respecting those words and using them with a lot of respect. So to the person who posted this comment, I think, at the end of the course, you will really understand the true value of strategic communication. So once again, thank you. And Professor Rath, it's wonderful to see you. And Satish, you too. And I think
thank you.
Darius,
Same here.
Darius, you too. It
Same
brings a
here.
lot of good memories.
All of a
And
sudden,
all
yeah.
and all the very best to all of you batchmates. And it's a fantastic decision, and you guys will really learn from this course. And all the best to you, and welcome, Professor Roy. I'm sure that you will also add immense value to the course. And thank you, everybody.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhavna.
Darius, can
So-
I make a comment on Yogmaya's comment which she has written on this program?
Please.
So Yogmaya, I was also thinking the same before joining this program, that all the leader, whosoever says whatever they said is a manipulation, and we are being manipulated. Till the time you don't understand the science behind it. So you have a power in your hand. How do you use it is depend on to you. Money can be spent it in a right way or wrong way also. So it's up to you, but you understand the nuances of that. That makes you more powerful. And that is what my experience is. Initially, I also thinking when I went into this program, I thought, what the hell is this? Why is? And then I started understanding, okay, because of this thing is happening, and because of this thing is not happening. And all of a sudden there is a moment comes, which is voluption happen to your mind. You start changing yourself. And then you don't say it. People start saying to you, "Arey, aapne kuch to badala hai. Kuch to change aaya hai." Huh? And this is what this program will do, especially Professor Pragyan's teaching. When she will push you, then you will change. That's my thank you. Thank you, Daraj, for allowing me.
Right. Thank you. So just, we'll have a quick overview of the program. So Jyotirma, either you share if you're sharing, or I can also share. So if you can share, I can share. So we'll have a quick overview of the program. I mean, the idea is that, we'll give you some snapshots, which is not very different, so that we don't keep on getting the same repeated content, from participants. So we'll set the ball rolling with what this program is. So this is the fourth batch. You can put it on full screen, second slide. Yeah, fourth batch, a 6 months program. The eligibility is we need people with more than 8 years of work experience and graduation, post-graduation with 50% and above. It's a live online program on, Saturday morning, 9 to 12, very convenient time, fresh and live, at 9 o'clock in the morning. The program culminates with 4 days at the campus, where you have your presentation, examination, certification ceremony. So that's the high point of the program, where all the learnings culminate into your public speaking, your projects, online assessments, the analytics of communication, and you will learn so much in those 4 days actually. And of course, being in the wonderful campus of IIM Calcutta, it's an experience that people cherish, throughout their life, actually. Then, of course, once you complete that, you get your certification of completion on successful completion. You get your executive education alumni status, and the program fees around 3 lakhs plus 18% GST payable in 4 installments. This includes the campus component also, right? Next slide. So, I mean, just to give you a snapshot, normally most programs don't have such a healthy figure of male, female, and talking about, gender studies, etc. We really hope that we get more participants who are female. And I mean, although the batch is pretty well balanced with 65 male, 35 females, the education mix, if you see, is 60% and above is post-graduation. And we have engineers, we have chartered accountants, especially wanting to bully with data. And I mean, that's what Professor Pragyan Rath will teach you, how to throw data at people to bully them, right? I mean, how to get your way, how to get your, the ask for a budget or, for a capex, right? Next slide. Yeah. In the profile mix, almost, 50% and above or 45% and above. 8 years is just a, the average age. But if you see, it's more than 10 to 20 years is average age is around 15 to 16 years is what the average profile of the participants are. I mean, and have a very healthy mix of senior professionals, which makes, your learning so much more richer. I mean, your peer learning so much more richer, because you not only learn from the faculties, but you also learn from your colleagues across India. When every concept is discussed in the lights of people's experiences, domain, profile, geographies, your learning gets so much more richer, actually. Yeah, next slide. And of course, we have the who's who. I mean, you'll have people from all walks of life. I mean, from the who's who of the Indian industry, actually. Marquee brands coming up, to kind of you'll be a part of a cohort which will be very rich in experience and connect. Okay, next slide. I mean, and terrific benefits of doing the program after you become an executive education alumni. I mean, on successful completion, you join a cohort of 27,000 highly successful executives who are illustrious, well placed in the industry. So just imagine, that cachet, that network that you kind of, add to. You'll get an alum, every alum gets an email ID of IIM Calcutta domain, which you can use, and of course, that's your login into the portal for the alums. And you also have it on your mobile. I mean, you'll get newsletters, articles, events, programs, you'll get invites. You can post your achievements. I mean, you can post, requirements of jobs, etc., for networking, live projects, opportunities, etc. As an alum, you also get a 5% discount. So IIM Calcutta is very conscious about lifelong learning, and they encourage people who have done programs to continue to do programs, and they treat you with that, value also. And of course, the portal allows you networking in a meaningful manner with the way that you would want to leverage. I think the next slide. That's the certification, which you will be awarded, which will be signed by the program directors and the program, in the new initiatives and the external relations dean. Next slide. I think that we will leave for, yeah. So these are snapshots. So every program kind of, culminates with the valedictory function where you get your certification, which is the high point in the program, right? And maybe one more slide. Jyoti, yeah. And that's your cohort snapshot. That's, the high, again, I mean, being part of going back to campus life. It's so wonderful, right? So I think we'll come back on how to reach us towards the end of the program. You could take these details down, but we'll kind of, break for question answers now. I think enough from our side. I think we need to hear you. So open for question answers. You can raise your hands, ask questions. You can unmute and ask questions. You can chat and you can ask questions. Please. Yeah. Go ahead. You can unmute and ask. Please unmute and ask questions. Yeah. Anybody? I think. Go ahead.
Mr. Mehta,
Yes.
can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
I'm Devi Padi. I'm a retired commander from the Indian Navy.
Yes,
and
sir.
I run my own organization.
Wonderful.
On communication. Many
Right.
of my mentees have gone through your institute, esteemed institute. My question to you is, I was seeing your chart of the participants, and
Right.
you have quite a few vice presidents and chief executives. What does it have to offer for a person who has had about good 40 plus years of experience? Can you be very specific about it?
Sure. So, let me, put it this way. Communication is a life skill, right? It's not only used in a professional environment, it is used in a personal environment, it is used in a social environment, and more so if you run your own organization, to be able to operationalize your vision, mission, goals, objectives. How do you inspire people? How do you motivate? How do you manage arguments? How do you manage conflicts? How do you negotiate? These are some of the skills, and how do you plan, as for your own organization? How do you kind of position your organization? How do you assess the environment, which is where communication analytics comes in? So, as an entrepreneur, we've had entrepreneurs in the batch, and so like I said, this is a holistic learning aspect of the program, and which you can apply, in a very easy manner, even if you're a businessman or a business owner or running an organization and leveraging it for all walks of life. Your ability to get things done depends upon how well you communicate, or how you structure your communication. Not only how well you communicate, but how do you structure your thoughts of communication, right? I hope I've been able to address. Maybe the faculties should also be answering. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Fadi, probably the greatest takeaway would be contemporaneity, relatability in today's times and the times to come. Even more important for people with 30, 40 or 20 years of experience, because that amount of experience already is a good thing, which means there's already a sense of a lot of things. And then with the changes that are about to come, that's why I said the word is futures of work, right? And we are all moving in that particular direction. So it's also to be future ready, perhaps. Unless Dr. Roy wants to add something else to this.
Professor Rath, wonderful to see an Odia, the lady over there, doing all the strategic planning and communication. Wonderful to see you there. Now tell me, do you also encourage, say, for example, the educational entrepreneurs, the social sector entrepreneurs, the NGOs entrepreneurs, or is it too very industry specific? Because after all, IIM is a management-oriented organization, and nice to see they talk about communication. And strategy, after all, is a term that came from the defense. So I'm not skeptical, but I'm rather wondering as to the kind of participants that I was seeing the charts. Do you reach out to the social enablers, for example, if that's the right term?
Right. I'll take this up and then request Dr. Roy and Mr. Pulak Indarayas to join in. Yes, we do reach out. And social enablers, yes, more so now. It's going to be more so even later. And let me also add to this that the heavy industry-based backgrounds today, goodwill credibility is one of the most important presentations of most corporates, and terms like social impact investment, purpose-driven marketing, these are all, of course, corporate versions which have learned their lessons from social enablers, and even social enablers have to understand organizations, have to understand negotiations, have to understand conflicts, and have to present and reach out as well, and need different media to reach out. So yes, but Dr. Roy, if you would.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Padi, for your questions. And you're right, the term strategy does originate from the defense. I would sort of add something to it. It's strategos, Greek, right? Professor Rath can correct me if I'm wrong. It comes from defense. It also comes from generalship, which is very closely related to leadership. And as we all know, defense strategy, running countries, and big stuff like that, difficult without leadership. So yeah, communication is, I think, more central to leadership than we give it credit for. So that's to answer one part of your question. Second, is this going to be relevant for you? I would love to have you in the classroom. I think we're going to have lots and lots of we can do our fencing on guard.
If I may interfere, Professor
Yeah,
Roy,
yeah.
not at 3 lakhs. That's quite a lot for a retired man like me.
Okay.
Nonetheless, money is not the matter. But
Yes.
why I'm
So why,
asking,
in terms of, you were talking about experience, right? So
yes.
if you are, and this is not just to you, but in general to the audience, whoever is listening in, let's say you have 25 years of experience and you're like, okay, is this relevant for me? Professor Rath said contemporaneity. That is, I think, the most crucial part. You know how many things have changed, and it is constantly changing. Today, you have to have a social profile, perhaps on LinkedIn, to be more visible. Recently, you must have seen that on LinkedIn, people are in brackets putting their pronouns. 2 years ago, no one did that. What does that mean? Is it important? How do I reach out to someone who belongs to this generation? How do I reach out to someone who is used to recently one Generation Z, a 20-year-old in one of my friend's companies? So my friend has a startup. It's a very niche tech startup. And one employee signed off. So when we sign off an email, we often say best or warmly. This employee said lukewarmly. Okay. Now you can't. So how do you deal with these things in terms of leadership? Do you tell the person off? Telling the person off is not working, as we are experiencing increasingly in all professions. So I would say, for those who have decades of experience and are perhaps thinking, is this relevant to them? I would definitely say that yes, indeed, it is relevant, because you will be grounded not just in past theories and notions, but you will also be told a lot about what it means to communicate today and how do we leverage that to communicate tomorrow. Futures of work again.
Thank you. My last little query.
Yes.
If I have to recommend this program to the naval headquarters or the defense headquarters, because, leadership is one of the,
yes,
it's the icing of the lives in our defense services.
Yeah.
What 2 things would you give me as the takeaways if I have to recommend it?
2 things. Okay. The first I would say would be, a lot of people have different notions about the defense, right? How are you reaching out to the public? Enrollments are going down everywhere, not just in this country. Why is it so? What is it that we are not being able to understand about people? So understanding people, I mean, in defense, every citizen is a stakeholder. So how do we understand them better? So that would be one. The second thing would be leadership communication. Again, understanding stakeholders, of course. The second, I think, would be to look at crafting the future of defense and communications.
Right,
So
Professor
first,
Roy?
Yeah. Anything,
Thank
Professor
you very
Rath
much. I've got my answers. And perhaps I'll put it across to the right people. Thank you. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Mr. Devi Pradhan, I mean, one more thing, communication and talks can actually avoid wars. And, I think one of the Cuban Missile Crisis just got resolved through communication. So that's how important communication is.
Thank you. Wonderful example.
For the services, right?
Yes,
okay.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Manu here. And my question is to Professor Roy and Professor Rath. This program, as I understood, talks about mostly from the behavioral aspects, behavioral level, how to communicate, how to modulate and tone up or tone down your communication skills. In a business organization, especially a revenue-driven, highly revenue-driven organization, which are sales-driven, LME be more specific, product sales, software product sales. At times, I've seen in my 26 years of career journey is that communication is largely impacted and influenced by the culture of that particular organization. And it is mostly centered towards revenue generating initiative and projects. And then from communication, it becomes very transactional and business oriented communication. Everything boils down to dollars, external dollars, which we earn for the company. And then organization's priorities, your quarterly achievement for priorities, year-end priorities supersedes everything. And this is the fact of the life in top 10 brands on this planet. So I'm not talking about small companies. They drive the trend, they rule the world. How do we take this kind of courses, which is more of generic in nature, and try and use it there, because they see a direct conflict between what happens inside and what we learn and come back to organization.
Can we?
Sorry.
Yeah, I think Satish, being a business practitioner, can also, share his thoughts. I mean, he's been a hardened. Satish, if you want to share, and of course, faculty.
I'll go ahead after Satish does the honors.
Satish, please
Satish, you
unmute.
have to unmute. Yeah. Satish, please unmute.
I was saying to all the participants, this is the way assignment happens in this class. They are very serious, but in a fun way. You will enjoy. So professor will pass sometimes surprise test to you. Okay, let me answer this question to you. See, all organizations are essentially surviving because they are able to make money. There is a commercial way and commercial purpose of having an organization. But how do you form an organization which is committed towards the cause of that organization? And this course will bring you greater understanding. And from sales point of view, couple of things which are now coming to my mind, you will learn the art of foot in the door. All these things you will learn. See, there are very, very good techniques which professor will teach you about influence and persuasive skills, and which is life skill. Again, I will say, see, I have gone through this program 2 and 3 years back, and still I'm going through the books which are provided, and they are reference book to me. And one book which I have given to all my 274 managers across the Asia, Monty Munrer, Managerial Communication. It's a kind of Bible which I have given to each and everybody, though I take credit for that, but it's suggested by a professor only. See, please understand, it's not about having sales. It's nothing wrong. We all sell, and this will clear that doubt that revenue generation is bad. No, it's a good thing. It's a very, very good thing. And this is what I learned from this program. Making money is not at all a bad thing. And we should not be shy away from that. Professor Rai,
I think that's a.
Your fee is so much.
Mr. Oja, I think making revenue is the best thing one can do, contribute to organization and so many people working for you. So, my takeaway from this program is that it fine-tunes your communication DNA and gives you more to how to act as a situational leadership in scenarios which are unpredictable, and keeps you kind of grounded. But then what happens is that one thing will not fit for all. You meet so many people inside and outside, like you just mentioned, foot in the door. You're prospecting, making a cold call, meeting the customer first time. Your pattern of communication will be very different. Once you come back in the organization, talking to your peers, subordinates, or superiors, you will have 3 different flavors of communication, right? So we toggle between different channels of communication depending upon the audience which we are addressing. And that's what the industry has taught us. I'm still trying to figure out. I'll definitely will dwell more into the content of this course, and if it can add to skill, definitely I find, and that too coming from a prestigious outfit like I am, I think it's must to evaluate.
So Manu, I'm not trying to hard sell this program. So please understand, from my experience out of this program, there's 3 different mental status which we change now. From outside customers, from a sales revenue generation, because we are so dedicated. So you
Yep.
look at the sales team. Sales team has a psychology. There is a psychology of sales which plays in that. And I have to woo these customers, whereas internal organization will take care of me. Whereas internal organization is a much more difficult environment. You need difficult skills to excel at. And that's why your career growth takes place. This will give you or enable you that thing that you can switch. You will enable, you will modify, not manipulate. Please, I'm not using Yugmaya manipulation. Huh? You will tactfully manage, not upward, downward, left, right. And thereby you will win. Huh?
Yep.
You know
Yep.
where to fight and how to fight.
Absolutely, I get it. Thank you.
Just wanted to add more.
Sir, did I pass the exam?
You're doing more than exam. I'm quite enamored, Satish, right? No, Manu, irrespective of the soft, hard, medium sell that is going on or not going on, just to let you know, there will be something called agility discussed in this particular course, in the sense, right? You'll have to change roles with different audiences, right? And it's not one big template. Yes, when we are talking about futures of work, we are talking about agility, and the agility aspect of it will determine the course content and templates from the very beginning.
No, I got it, Professor. I was actually taking it in a different manner. I think it's amply clear to me now. Basically, it's going to, if I may use the word, affect or improvise your basic core DNA of your communication engine, and you will keep changing the layers depending upon situation. But it's the core which is more important, because that will provide you higher degree of adaptability, agility, and flexibility, which you have to be very, very versatile, because you can meet different audiences in your life. I get it now.
Yeah. Next, I think Indranil, you can please unmute and ask. Indranil, right?
Yeah, hi. So not to ask anything, it's good to see Professor Russ after so many years, 6 years. And I don't know if you remember me, because this is Indranil from the corporate side, not from Times of India. It called a couple of weeks back. And it's very difficult to catch hold of Professor Russ. But I think 6 years back when I did that course, I think I can attest to the fact that what really remains with me even today is the kind of training and guidance that one got with regard to switching and addressing various target audiences. And that's what Manu was sharing. At the end of the day, for anybody who's in the comms role in today's age, it's all about quantifying your communications with regard to how it impacts the PNL. And somewhere, what the course that I did earlier, of course, this is a far more intensive course. And I was a little late in enrolling for this one as well. I would be enrolling for the subsequent program. But having said that, what really remains with me even today is the kind of helpful guidance that I got with regard to switching the narrative to the various target audiences which are involved. So from that respect, of course, always, and like Mr. Ojha also shared, that book on managerial communications is definitely a go-to book even today, which helps in understanding the nuances of communication. And at the end of the day, also, no matter how good your communication skills are, if the company's culture is not open for understanding the nuances of communication, it will eat strategy, communication, marketing communication strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So one can't really do anything about that. But in today's day and age, I feel that corporates are more open to the idea of communication and communicating rightfully to their target audiences. And of course, ESG and sustainability communications is something which is again catching on. That's a different animal that we all have to contend with as communication professionals. So I would still say that it's good to see Professor Rath. Of course, I have slightly changed. I have lost a lot of hair, as you would probably see. But I'm not very sure if Professor Pragyan Rath remembers Indranil
I
Rath.
do. I'm really, really stunned to see you,
So it's good
Indranil.
to see you.
See, I didn't expect this, and I do remember.
Yeah, but yeah,
And you
like
look
I said,
different.
it's difficult to catch you. Yeah, over
Yeah.
a phone call. Yeah.
Okay, I think Shil Aditya Roy, I think you can unmute and ask, please.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Mr. Mehta. I'm Shiladitto, and I have been working in the field of training and instructional designing, content management for about 18, 19 years now. And apart from that, I'm also a theater artist. So I write and direct plays and also act here and there. So my question here is, as I came to know about this course, I got increasingly interested looking at the content, um, uh, and basically I wanted to make an entry into the world of corporate communications in my own organization. Also, I work with Schlumberger. It's an oil and energy services company. So right now I'm in the training management field, and I want to get into the corporate communications field. And apart from that, being a theater artist, I also want to leverage the communication and basically the communication skills. And so how do I basically I want to convert my theater journey into, if possible, a kind of a business, which is, as you all know, in India, the theater circuit is mostly relegated to the elites, and it doesn't earn much money if not the great stars are acting in it. So this is my objective in a nutshell. So could you please enlighten me on how to, if at all, this course is going to help me in achieving that?
Dr. Roy, you want to try?
You can go ahead, or I can start, yeah, and you can add the points. Shiladitto, hi, good evening. Nice to see you here. So if I understood, correct me if I'm wrong. I hope I understood your question. So you've been in the field of ID, instructional design and training, and you want to leverage your experience in the theater. So you write and direct. Is that what you do? Okay, which also means that you have read a lot of plays, and there's a wealth of material that you derive from the classic problem of tradition and individual talent. Have you been facing that? So I think what you could do in the classroom, so coming back to the classroom, and I'll also answer Manu. Manu has said, guys, I have a hard stop. I need to go now. Often in classrooms, this might happen, and then you'll not be allowed to go. But please, you can leave if you want to. So the thing is that in the classroom, particularly when we are doing modules on storytelling, I draw in a lot from stories. I do refer to a lot of material content, including video games. If you are thinking of doing some kind of new media startup kind of thing with the background of theater, there are so many groups and teams that are already doing. I mean, I'm sure you're aware of some who are doing virtual theaters where the people speak and what the entire set, etc., is on virtual drive. You can use the Oculus Rift to get more immersed in theater. So these are certain, from coming from new media and technology, these are certain new modes of communication. What does immersion mean? Essentially, whenever a fiction is told, please stop me if I'm sort of getting too much into the answer, from a book to a movie to a play to a video game, everything is about how immersed you can get your audience into it. The more immersed we are in the story, the more difficult it is for us to have objective distance, and we are persuaded. That is why you sit in a darkened theater. You know that the people that you are crying for have been paid. They are actors. Does that stop us from crying? And that's the incredible part, right? So in the classroom, from the concepts of strategic communication, leadership communication, or corporate communication, you will also learn a lot about how new technologies and storytelling, etc., inflect the arts, or in some way, because I come from a background of humanities, so does Professor Rath. We use art, critical theory, etc., to inflect contemporary understanding of communication and deliver it in a way that provides the participants with certain toolkits, certain things that they can use in their professions. Okay, so I hope it was a bit scrambled answer. I usually need more time, and brevity is not my strong suit, nor is wit. So I hope Professor Rath can perhaps add to this.
Shiladitya, you want to move into corporate communications and you want to do a business out of theater, if I got it right. What this course would, of course, enable you, because of the background you come from, you would probably connect a lot with the cultural behavioral aspect of the strategy part of communication. It should not be very, very difficult for you in terms of seeing from where it's being taken. In terms of business, what the course will be able to do also will give you a larger scope of market research and how to pitch and develop the content for whatever business you want to develop. Right? So even if the business is of theater, you will know how to, develop the pitch for it. In terms of actually developing a business out of it, this course will give you the confidence of how to pitch. Make a business out of it, you need far more. Right?
Yeah, that we are not going to be able to, but yeah, like the pitch, like you said, so theater, many say, is dying. People don't go to watch the theater anymore. Instead, people like us are playing video games. So is there something that you could do to get, to pitch it to the right audience? That Professor Rath is, yeah, that's true.
So you said that you would be drawing from the contemporary critical art theories. So that interests me very much, in fact. And you have already quoted Tradition and Individual Talent by Eliot, and you've already quoted Polonius. So that is very interesting. So thank you so much. Looking forward to see you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, Ankur, yeah, please go ahead. Ankur, you can unmute and ask your question.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Mehta. First of all, good evening to everybody, especially to both the professors. Thank you for that information. I actually had a very basic question. While, yes, we have moved into this online world with regards to communication being mainly through online mediums, I understand most communication is made up of verbal and non-verbal communication. So non-verbal is about 70% of the entire conversation that we're trying to portray or communicate to the other person. Now, in this, with the new landscape, does your course also take into account of non-verbal communications? Because I understand this is going to be mainly online. How would you be addressing the non-verbal communication aspect of it? And I have a follow-up question, which I'll come to possibly after this.
Hi, this is
Yeah, this is Ankur Jaiswal. Sorry,
Ankur.
Miss
Yeah,
Mehta.
sorry, Ankur. Yeah. Ankur, 10, 20 years back, the division or the kinds of communication, the general understanding was there were two kinds, verbal and non-verbal. Today, that's an outdated answer.
Okay.
There is only two kinds of communication, either you tell or you sell, and non-verbal, verbal, visual, and there are too many other varieties which are all falling under either of the categories, right? So there's a different way of looking at verbal and non-verbal altogether. There will be a touch and go on non-verbals. It is an online space in which it is being taught, but you do have 4 days campus visit. You are coming to the campus unless COVID and the government decide that you cannot, right? Right. So there is a physical component to it. However, this particular course specifically is about strategizing for market leadership, though you have a component called public speaking, right, in which there is an essence of content development, and the non-verbal essences will be communicated to you. So there is a space for it. However, it is to be delivered online till we find you in the physical space when you do come towards the end, right? But verbal and non-verbal as two different aspects of communication, that isn't the criteria set up of communication studies currently in the market. Non-verbal is an important part, right? But essentially not very, very different from verbal either. Right? I'm just saying that, I'm not getting too much into it. It's a psychological analysis saying verbal, non-verbal. Anthropologically, it wouldn't make much difference. So you see, there are too many perspectives in which one looks at communication, and that is something you will learn to be informed about. But if anybody else wants to add, can go.
Thank you, Dr. Rath. All right. And the follow-up question I also had was the whole psyche of employees is changing over the years. So earlier earlier the employees were very rooted to following orders and taking all the communication which is given to them and following and running with it. However, now the psyche of employees has changed over a period of time. And rather from just being order takers, they are actually members or other employees who come back and challenge decisions, and they need a lot more persuasion to actually get the work done. Now, while I understand this is basically completely on communication, but I believe communication would be an important role in terms of managing employees as such, because this role is for senior resources, and I'm presuming all of them require a certain level of employee management or team management as well. So in light of this process, do you also have different communication strategies for different style of mentoring or managing employees? Is it something to do with, for example, if I want to take an authoritative kind of approach to managing my employees, is there a different way of communicating with them? Or is the strategy or this entire course structured in such a way that it's more to do with influencing my thought process in terms of getting more clarity, like how Mr. Satish mentioned a while ago? So is it more on those lines in terms of clarifying my thought and the overall aspect, or is it also to do with these various styles in terms of managing other people?
Yeah, please go ahead.
I'll go ahead once you start.
Okay, yeah, so you very interesting. I liked that example that earlier people would listen and now it's difficult. You tell someone to do something, they're like, it's okay, we'll do it, or maybe not. So think of it, I think, I don't know, maybe 35 years ago, how would we receive the news? I mean, you would get it from one source, maybe your newspaper, or your television, the 9 o'clock news, Doordarshan. And that is what is called broadcasting. Okay. So everyone is receiving the same kind of information. Today, if you just walk into maybe a household and you will see if there are four people are perhaps possibly on 4 different devices using 4 different mediums. One is on Facebook, one is on Instagram, one is on email, etc., etc. And that is called narrowcasting. So now information cannot be anything that you say, the way you lead, the way you manage your team. If you continue to broadcast, if you have just one thing that you're saying that this is the thing that you have to do and do it right now. 35 years ago, because see, we are also saying from quite some time that you will be made to understand larger structures, larger cultural, economic, anthropological, critical perspectives, which will help you identify your situatedness. So today, so 35 years ago, if your employees were all receiving one sense of information, there was much less doubt, there was much less discord. Today, one of the most popular social media spaces is called Discord. Right. Absolutely unironically. So you see that, so now what you have identified is the symptom of our times. In order to ensure, in order to lead better, in order to manage your teams better, you need to go beyond the symptom. And that is perhaps something that we will try. Additionally, we also have a module on conflict and negotiation. So yes, Professor Rath, sorry, please go ahead.
Wow, beyond the symptom. Thank you, Dr. Roy. Ankur, there are going to be a number of sessions on conflict management, and that too from an organizational behavioral professor who deals with teams, mentors, internal, external stakeholders. So that part is there.
Sure. Thank you, Professor Rath. And thank you, Professor Roy, as well. Mr. Darius, one last question to you. I haven't been able to access the link. Can you please have somebody reach out to me who could help me with this process?
Sure, definitely. We'll reach out to you, Ankur. Not an issue. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
You can in the chat just share your email and number. I think somebody will reach out.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. I think there was Diganta. Dave, you had a question. You had put it in chat. If you can't, I mean, anybody is free to unmute and ask a question.
No, I think Digantika wanted to ask about one of the programs, so somebody will reach.
Okay, fine. So that's answered. Fine.
So I think
so
while we get to the next query, one very, very interesting element of evaluation that the program has. This is very different from the other programs, and I think it makes for a very, very interesting mix of the program delivery is the assessment. So if Professor Pragyan and Professor Nandita would share some insights, because we find it very, very interesting in terms of presentation, very different from the assessments that we generally do for other programs. And it's equally a point of interest for the participants also as well, as we have seen in the past. So some insights on that, Professor, for the audience.
Sure, Mr. Pulak. We have 2 components, right? And since this is a communication course, we are not going to ask a question, what is strategic communication, and you answer that, right? That's not what we're asking, nor are we saying strategic communication is A, B, C, D. So take the right answer. We are not doing that as well, which is famously called the multiple choice questions. What we in essence are actually hoping to get you to do is really contribute to this language of leadership through, one is public speaking, which means you have to make your individual pitch. That is, you'll have to talk, right? And present. And it will be a summation of basically all the templates and the agile quotients that will come your way through the lectures and analysis and the connection between the prof and the audience. And on the other hand, you will have something called a group presentation. The group presentation is going to be more of, a more detailed research, right, on a certain understanding of business and the way you use communication for that, right, which will again make use of all the analytics, the data narratives, and the other aspects that you will learn and you will use. Essentially, for 6 months, you will be hearing us. So this is our way of sitting and hearing you, right? And you have to perform. So somebody is already from the theater experience. So you'll have to actually perform and not really role play. You'll have to perform, demonstrate, and develop, not just apply. Right? So this is not just simply that it's taught and you take it and you just apply and show, okay, so I mixed black and white. This is how we make gray. So what we'll ask you to do is, now where does gray move into? So you will have to essentially develop which needs. And what is interesting is, because you will have a mixed bag of your peers coming from various industries, that coming together and working on the project should hopefully be the most exciting part. That is the greatest learning, perhaps. Dr. Roy, you can add more if you want.
No, I think, yes, that's, you will get to work in a group, and the whole thing will be, you'll also have other exams, but the two most interesting exams are this, where you'll do a group project and you will do the public speaking presentation. So, yeah.
Maybe this also takes care of Ankur's question on body language and
yes.
whatever else, because you're going to get detailed feedback on what you did, how you did, what worked, and what other amazing things can you do with what you did.
And I think more specifically the feedback sessions also, which you undertake, so once you implement that learning into the assessment, so the professors give you a feedback also of what could have been the right approach if at all there is a kind of error in terms of depiction. So I think that also is a big takeaway from the program, and post which you get your certification and you also get the coveted alumni status. So the alumni status entails you to interact with a networking opportunity with 27,000 odd members who have already passed out from the institute, and you also get to network with the overall, the entire gamut of alums who have passed out of IIM Calcutta. You also get a specific domain specific email ID after you complete the program as an alum, which will have an IIM Calcutta extension as a domain name. So I think these are a lot of takeaways, which you get from the program, apart from the learning experience and the learning journey that we would impart. Sorry to take off the forum from you.
No problem. I think very, very rightly said. I think we'll just end with one last question. I see just one last hand raise, which is Gitanjali Singh. Gitanjali, you can go ahead and ask the question.
I'm sorry, it is wrongly raised.
No
Hi, this
okay.
is Jyoti. Yeah, I have a question. Yeah.
Go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I just to let you know my purpose of joining this. So I hello, am I audible?
Go ahead, Jyoti. Go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yes. So yes. So the thing is, recently I lost one of my role in my company. Okay. I was given a new opportunity to work on something, but I know that I'm very good at getting things done and all, but I'm not able to maybe sell myself or communicate very well. But when it comes to a work part, I can get it done. So a wrong perception was accepted by the leader, that I will not be able to communicate with the market units and all. She's not assertive and so. So that's how I thought, I'm kind of a very soft spoken tone, and then I decided, I need to change this perception now, and that's how I thought of joining, looking for this kind of a course.
Dr. Roy, there is a women's leadership program, which seems
Hey, Jyoti, yeah. Sorry, please go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, hey, nothing. I'll add to whatever.
You can go on adding. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Jyoti.
Hi.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of pressure to be assertive, isn't it? And to maintain stuff like work and assertive, and then yet you have to, it's like walking on the tightrope. If you're too assertive, you become too bossy. And if you're too soft-spoken, you're not getting the job done. I hear you. But I think, yes, we will in some sessions address, because I think this is a gendered issue, right? That's my perspective of looking at this. And in certain, a lot of my content is inflicted by inflected rather, or also an infliction by gender. And this whole notion of how do we speak, in what spaces we have to be assertive, we will touch upon these issues. But as Professor Rath was saying, there's also something else that might benefit you, perhaps more than this, is the Women's Leadership Program, which Professor Rath does.
Okay. So that will be part of this curriculum as well, right?
No, that's a different course.
Achha, okay, there's a different course. Maybe I missed it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But this one also has elements of what you are talking about.
Okay. And the assessments that you mentioned, will it be like how monthly assessments, or how is it? Or is it going to be just after 6 months when we are in Calcutta?
We have two questions actually on the assessments. I'm just drawing Professor Rath's attention to Dr. Anubha Pandit's question. Because of tight work schedule, do we need to work too hard during the assignments? I think the alums and Professor Rath can answer
Satish,
this.
you may want to answer.
Did you need to work
I
too
want to
hard?
answer first Jyoti's question, Jyoti's remark, in fact, and
Yeah.
Nandita's
Go
remark.
ahead, Satish.
She talked about that woman leadership and not being assertive and being considered as an ineffective leadership. See, what you will learn, and I have learned, because I'm also not a very, very strong personality, so-called that kind of personality which thrives in the boardroom. When you learn the art of changing the criteria of being effective and prove this at least twice in the boardroom, all of a sudden people will follow you. I'm sure you have heard this. For an example, which professor will say to you during the course, benevolent leadership and benevolent autocratic leadership. You just change these two words between benevolent autocratic and autocratic benevolent. The person you hate the most, but still you love the most, and you be that one group. People say we want this kind of person who can bind and unite people. We don't want anybody who can repulse people out. Okay. You have to create a space, and you will learn that.
Okay.
That will happen after a year when you will reread the course content. You will go through the program, and you will, especially I request to all the people, please read the book which she has provided. It's kind of my go-to book nowadays. Whenever I'm in trouble, I just go and read that book time and again. And you will start learning. And Nudge, which is Professor's favorite book. Also, these two things. Now,
and I think largely, largely to, just boost up Jyoti also, is that since the cohort definitely would be very, very interactive. And during the entire course of duration of 6 months, there will be a lot of interactions happening. You will have a very diversified cohort. They will also be, closely knit with you. So I think that will also bring in a lot of boost in terms of your confidence build-up as well, So alongside what the faculty would do for you, I think that also will take you a long way through. So I'm sure that would, bring you new insights into, I would say, assertive communication as you want it to be. But yes, I would tell you that even soft-spoken leaders are also very assertive, and
Yes.
there is a style to it. So I
Yes.
think those nuances, I'm sure our faculties would also give you some insight, possibly not in the uh, dimension of the course, but yes, during casual
It
discussions
will
also.
touch.
Yeah.
It will definitely touch
Yeah.
upon that part of the course. The second question, assignments.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, thank you so
Assignments
much.
learning will happen when you will work as a team. And I'm telling you, they are the one which are, I don't know, but Professor, I'm saying it on behalf of the team. They will make you more curious. They will allow you to do research. And as Professor has very rightly said, that they will allow you to develop your own theories. Please understand, I still remember one of the program which was given that how hospitals and insurance companies are creating a new market window of opportunity. And we had a lot of discussion among our team, whether it's a right case to put up for Professor, and your learning, icing over cake will happen when Professor Pragyan will give a comment to you. You won't learn till the time you won't listen the comments coming in your way. And all of a sudden you are a wiser person. That's the way.
Yeah, if I can
learning
chip into
happens.
what
Yes,
Sudesh has been
of
saying,
course.
I think the most fun part were the assignments and the
Yes.
feedback that the professors give you. I still remember Professor Pragyan told me that as a feedback, I was a problematizer. I was telling myself, hey, I'm not a problematizer. I don't make problems for people. My job is to make things easier. But I think that feedback and objective feedback helps you to kind of also relook and self-reflect and improve upon your shortcomings and what you can improve upon the other aspects of your life. But overall, the assignments for me were always the fun part. They were very engaging, and the kind of support that I would get from my peers, as Mr. Pulak just mentioned, that was phenomenal. I think that interaction was something that I really look forward to. And yeah, this is what I would want to kind of chip in from the perspective of having attended these programs. So yeah, that's my take on it.
I think Dr. Anubha had a query that, how engaging it would be for her during the program in terms of the assessments and all. So I think I would say that, most of the cohort that you would have seen in terms of the, profiles, they are, I mean, through their profiles only, you'll get to see that they're extremely busy executives, all senior level people, and yet they have made a good amount of time, learning and enjoying the program. So I'm sure it is not going to be so heavy that you cannot manage. We have almost, 200 people who have managed the, program very, very efficiently, and they have come out with flying colors. I hardly recall anybody, who has not cleared the exams or not been assessed and they're left with a kind of certificate of participation. Almost everybody has got a certificate of completion because the faculties are so good that they will ensure that you are there, so you do not have to worry about that, right?
Okay, I think if there is no other question, I think we can kind of, call it a day by sharing the last screen for everybody to kind of, kind of inform. I mean, if you need to get in touch, although I think Shomak has already shared the, details of the program, but I think just one more, time, let me kind of share the screen and share the contact details of the team so that you could kind of get in touch with them, right? So you could get in touch on this email ID somak.ray@vcnow.in, and you could please note this number 72900368877. I'll put it in the chat also, and we will also, you'll receive communications from the counselors, academic advisors of this program. So you could kind of quickly, if you're interested, please go ahead and apply for the program, because we are in the last stage of selection and shortlisting, and you will get all the information that you need for the same. I would like to thank Professor Pragyan, Professor Nandita, Satish, even Bhavna, and all of you actually, for taking your time out and having such an interaction, wonderful interactions. Asking questions which are really, at the crux of your decision making. And we hope that we've been able to answer that and address your queries. I can only tell you one thing, that this is a very different communication strategy program. There is no program in the world which is like this. You can search it anywhere, in any of the Ivy Leagues or anywhere in India. You'll never find a program like this. It's a highly intriguing program, a program that will change the way you look at and how you can transform yourself to get things done. So I think on this very note, thank you, professors, and thank you, alums, and thank you, everybody. Wish you all the very best, and a very good night. Thank you. I think we can call it a day on this, right?
I think keep an eye on your mailboxes. Within the next 1 or 2 hours, you'll receive the entire deck of communication, including the brochure, the link, and everything on your mailbox. If at all you don't see it in the mailbox, it could be in your spam. Sometimes it might land up at your spam also. Alternatively, you can contact us also as well. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.